Welcome to What's Cooking, New Ulm. I'm Rebecca Fliszar, the dietitian with the Hearts Beat Back Heart of New Ulm project, working to reduce and eventually eliminate heart attacks in the 56073 zip code. All right, tonight we're going to make an excellent egg bake, but we're going to change things up just a little bit. If you're tired of the same old thing, maybe a few onions in your frittata, we're going to give you a big change. We're going to actually incorporate arugula and some whole wheat bread into your mix. So this is going to challenge your taste buds, but it's going to have some great flavor. We're going to top this with a fontina cheese. Now this is going to be very creamy with a little bit of a sweet flavor to it. So if it's not something you've tried before, you're going to like this one. And also an odd ingredient that maybe you haven't seen before in your dish will be your artichoke hearts. So when we put these all together, we're going to have some pretty dramatic flavor. And to top that off, our protein source is coming from chicken sausage. Now these are going to be lower in calories, lower in saturated fat than your traditional pork sausage. And you can see we're not using a lot of it, but it's going to add that additional flavor that you're looking for that breakfast. All right? Our second recipe then is going to complement that just to get in a little bit of our vegetables. You know, oftentimes we use our peas, carrots, and corn mix, and yet people get fatigued on that. We're not having as much flavor as we should. We have it too often, and then we start to leave our vegetables out. So we're going to just spice that up a little bit tonight, put the two together, and you'll have a great dinner. Let's start our first recipe. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take about 6 slices of that whole grain bread. We're going to just break it up into bite-sized pieces. Remember, we want half of our grains to be whole grains, and that's what we're getting in these. These do help reach our fiber goals. They add important nutrients and calories, and they do help keep us full. So we're going to break those up. Put those into our center bowl. You know, oftentimes we have ingredients like a fontina cheese that you might not have tried before or aren't willing to spend the extra money on. So this is a time that if you don't want to pay the extra expense for that fontina, you can use a little bit of a low-fat mozzarella or different cheese to put on top of this. But if you want to challenge your taste buds or expand your horizons, go ahead and pick up that fontina. They are found locally in both of our grocery stores, so they shouldn't be a barrier to completing this recipe. But with anything, if cost becomes a hurdle, go ahead and make those substitutions and still try to enjoy your dish. All right? Now what we're going to be using is arugula, and I do have it in a mix. Arugula has a very distinct flavor. It is a leafy green. You can use it in salads. You can have it alone, but it's pretty strong. And so if you mix it in, this is a spring mix, you're going to find that you're going to get the flavor of the arugula, but it's not going to be quite so overpowering. So we're actually going to put this entire container in there. It is going to wilt down a little bit. The recipe does call for the wilted arugula. So the best way to do this is actually to put your arugula in the refrigerator for a while, and then take it out after about 2 hours, and you can put it in your microwave for about 40 seconds, and you're going to have a nice wilting to that. So it's going to help pull out a little bit of the moisture and make the consistency of the arugula close to what you want for this recipe. I'll add a little more in there. This is a great way to get our vegetables in while watching our overall calorie intake. Okay, so that's a good mix. We can just toss that for now. The next thing we're going to add in here is we're going to use our artichoke hearts. And again, if this isn't something you've used before, you might want to give those a try first. They're very high in nutrients. They're something that we should be incorporating into our diet a little bit more often. They are high in fiber. We're reaching that goal of the 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day. And also they are protein containing, so one of our vegetables that are going to be a little bit higher in that, we'll use about 3/4 of a cup. Add that into our bowl. All right, and then the last thing we're going to add in here is that chicken sausage. Now these I baked ahead of time to make sure that I got them up to the internal temperature of 165 degrees. I'm just going to dice those up. So this is not going to be an issue for our cross-contamination. These are already cooked. They are ready to eat. We're just going to add those right into our dish. I did choose the chicken sausage because of their caloric makeup, but we still have to be a bit careful with these. All right, so the next thing we're going to make is our custard, or the egg base of this. Put that in there. Toss it together. In a traditional egg bake, you're going to use straight eggs and egg whites. Well, with this recipe, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add 4 eggs and 4 egg whites. All right, so the egg whites are going to have your protein, but they're going to be very low in calories, and they're not going to have any of our cholesterol. So we have to have some of the yolks. They are what are going to help bind this dish together. So you could not go without any yolks, but if we half it, we can find that we still have all the flavor with much less of the cholesterol and other nutrients that we don't need in our diet. All right, so there's our 4. The next 4 we're going to do are going to be just the egg whites. We're going to tip it, pass it over, and there you have your egg white out. Okay. If you wanted to use egg substitute or if the pre-purchased egg whites, you are welcome to do that as well. A little bit more expensive that way, so we like to just drain these out. Not a pretty process, but one that's easy to do. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And 1 more of those. Pass it over, and there you go. We're going to add in our milk and mix that together. So that's the custard base of this recipe. All right, so now we need to add in a little bit of our flavoring. So what we're going to use a couple tablespoons of our mustard. You can use a brown mustard or a Dijon. Take that off. We'll use about 2 tablespoons. All right, a little bit of salt to bring out the flavors. And then what we're going to use is a little bit of our fresh basil, or this is dried. If you have fresh basil available yet at this time of the year, go ahead and use that. Otherwise, the dried is going to work just as well. And that is our distinctive flavor when we talk about those. I'm going to mix that together. Remember, we like to use those herbs in place of the salt. We did use just a little bit of salt with this recipe to enhance the flavor. But when you're cooking with herbs, you get a lot of the nutrients, you get all the flavor, and you don't have any worries about sodium or affecting your blood pressure. All right, so we're going to mix this all together. So pretty colorful, very distinct flavors. Definitely an unusual recipe, but you're going to find that this is going to be very tasty, quick to make, and can keep in the fridge. We can heat these up for several days after we have this recipe completed. All right, so all we're going to do is we're going to add this into our baking pan. We're going to put it in the oven. We're going to let that bake for about 40 to 45 minutes, and then we'll be ready to pull it out. Once it's out, we're going to put that cheese on top and simply slip it back in the oven for a few minutes to melt the cheese on top. All right, we're going to put this in the oven, and we'll be right back with our next recipe.
Well, it's that time of year again. It's time to start thinking about bringing our exercise routine indoors. Or perhaps you're somebody that just doesn't like to hit the gym, you'd rather work out at home. Having a good exercise video can be key to enjoyment, fun, and an effective workout in your own home. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to choose an exercise video, because in case you haven't noticed, there are a ton out there. So how do you know what's a good video and maybe what's not the best? One of the first things to consider when you choose an exercise video is the space that you have to do your workout in. If you don't have a lot of space, you're probably not going to want to select a video that allows you to have to move around a lot in a big area. The second thing to consider is the type of workout you're looking for. Are you looking for a mind-body video like yoga or Pilates? Or are you looking for more cardio? Do you have a step that you can use at home or another piece of exercise equipment that you like to use? Once you've determined your space and the kind of workout that you want, then it's time to head into the store and select your video. I brought some videos with me today. I have 3 different kinds of videos. Now I would advise that you may want to start out with a mind-body video, but gradually build your video library so you incorporate all of the great activities that you need in a good exercise routine. So you want cardiovascular, strength, and flexibility. The videos I have with me today, I have Pilates, Bosu video, and a step video. These are 3 very different kinds of videos. So when we head into the store, we go to look for a video. What we want to look for first is it beginner, intermediate, or advanced? Now, if you haven't done Pilates before, a beginner video is probably going to be a great bet for you. But you can see I have a Pilates video here, and it says right on the video cover, intermediate mat workout, which means you basically just need a mat, and it's intermediate, so it's not going to quite be a beginner, but it's not going to be advanced either. I brought another Pilates video with me too, and this is a Saute Pilates video. Saute is a great organization that is certifying body for Pilates. But you can see, you'll look on the back and it'll say that you'd need just an exercise mat on the back. So that would maybe meet your space requirements. The Saute Pilates video has a level 2 on the top, so that tells us that it probably also is an intermediate video. Once you've decided beginner, intermediate, advanced, you want to look at the instructor. This is really important. I tend to advise shying away from videos that are taught solely by celebrities. If you have a celebrity with a personal trainer or some type of fitness professional, that's great. But I, just for safety reasons, would shy away from videos put out totally by celebrities. You're going to see that I have one here called Step Gone Wild, and this is by Rob Glick. And when I read the back of this, it's going to tell me that he is both ACE and AFIS certified. So that means that he is a certified group exercise instructor. So he knows the safety requirements basically needed to give you a safe and effective workout. And one thing about Rob's video, though, that I don't like is that it doesn't give you the fitness level that you need to participate in this video. I happen to know Rob. I've taken his workshops, and I really like his videos, but I also know his teaching style. If you don't know their teaching style and the video doesn't tell you if it's beginner, intermediate, or advanced, you may want to look for a different video at that point in time. You can also look for or talk to your friends. What kind of videos do they have? What videos do they like? What do they enjoy doing? Because they're another really great resource for picking an exercise video. Hopefully with these few tips on how to choose an exercise video, you can have a safe, fun, and effective indoor workout. For today's Fit in 5, I'm Holly. Have a healthy day.
Okay, so I've taken this recipe out of the oven. You can see that I just simply put it in the baking pan. I sprayed that with some cooking spray, and this is how it came out. You can see all of that arugula on the top, our sausage, and this yellow part is the fontina cheese that I've thinly sliced and put on the top, put it back in for about 5 minutes, and we have a great breakfast that's full of our greens, which you wouldn't normally find. So this is the arugula chicken, and we're ready for our second recipe. So oftentimes we have something like this, and yet we have not enough vegetables to go with it. So I want to make a very, very easy, quick recipe. And this incorporates our mixed vegetables that many of us have on a regular basis. But we're going to spice that up a little bit with some shallots. And then we're going to use our dill seasoning and a little bit of salt. Easy enough, and yet you're going to get a much better flavor than you would when we're just heating up our regular mixed vegetables. A shallot is actually a hybrid between an onion and a garlic. So it's going to have a little bit of a different flavor than you might be used to. But it's very distinctive and is really great in this recipe. Shallots are found in our local grocers. Just have to go out of your way and look for it, or don't hesitate to ask our grocers where to find these. These can be grown locally as well, so you might want to check with your local CSA or your farmer's market and see if you can get a locally grown shallot. So we're just going to dice these up a little bit. And just like an onion, they are going to have that potency that's going to make your eyes water a little bit, falling into that same family. And I like the shallot, so I'm going to add a second one, actually, for this recipe. Dill is a common seasoning that we find here and grows easily. So it's something that if you like to incorporate your herbs, that would be easy to put into your herb garden. It's also available in these jars that will be kept for quite some time. It's something you can keep as one of your staples in your counter. Now this shallot is a little bit damaged. We're going to just cut that piece off. You just want to make sure that your herbs and vegetables are in good condition, where they're at the peak of their flavor. All right, so we're going to turn around. We're going to head back to the stove. And we're going to heat these up. Okay, we're going to go up to that medium heat, add our olive oil, and coat the bottom of our pan. Olive oil is full of mono and polyunsaturated fats. Those are the fats that are going to bring down your bad cholesterol and bring up your good. We want to keep those incorporated into our diet as much as possible. Avoid using things like solid butters, lard, and other shortenings. All right, so we're going to just let those soften up just a bit here. Get that going. The next thing we're going to be doing then is we're just going to add that package of our mixed vegetables. Now you can use anything you want. If you want to use a California blend with your cauliflower, your broccoli, and carrots, that would be fine as well. I chose this one because it tends to be a staple in many of our diets. The corn, green beans, peas, maybe some carrots in there as well. Easy enough. It doesn't have to be frozen. You can take these as canned vegetables as well. Do be aware of the sodium content anytime you're using canned vegetables. If you have any issues with blood pressure or fluid retention, make sure you're keeping your diet at 2,000 milligrams or less as prescribed by your physician. All right, we're going to add these into our pan. You can hear our oil is already heating up. And the shallots are going to cook quickly. We just want them to become a little bit more clear. There we go. And they're already doing that. So we're going to add in our vegetables. You know, you can make this one to quantity as well. So add in the amount that you think you'll be eating. Oftentimes I hear from single people that it's difficult to cook healthy because it takes too much time to make this for one person. But this is an easy recipe full of flavor and things that are found in your freezer, so we don't have a lot of plate waste. So do try this recipe and keep it into your diet. With this, we're going to add a slight amount of sodium or salt to bring out some of our flavors. And then the key ingredient here, along with the shallots, is going to be the dill. Now, I'm a big fan of dill, so I like to add that in there. It's easy to use and full of flavor. Again, add it to taste. It doesn't add calories or any other unwanted nutrients into the diet. We can definitely fill that up. And that's it. Now we've taken a staple that we're used to having, and sometimes we get vegetable fatigue with, a low-cost option to our fresh-grown vegetables that we can keep in the freezer, and we've really spiced it up. We have great flavor, quick recipe, and a heart-healthy meal. We'll bring that over to the counter, and it's ready to serve. And there you go. That's recipe number 2 for tonight. And that's also it for this week's episode of What's Cooking New Ulm. I'm Rebecca Fliszar, and I'll see you next week.